Welcome everybody to this edition of Talks with Sato. Today here we're with Killian from Boltz. So
Hello.
meanwhile
Thank
we
you for
start.
having me.
How you doing, Killian?
I'm great. I'm great. How about you?
Same. And very nice to have you. Uh, Before we start with the show, I'm gonna say little bit things about the last news on Bitcoin. I think it's very interesting that we reached more than three all-time highs the last week. So, what do you think about that, Killian? We are reaching and reaching more all-time highs, maybe per day, maybe I think more than five. It depends on which is the price. So, do you think maybe we could see more all-time hacks this week or maybe the next week?
More what? More, more,
More
more
all-time hacks.
all-time highs. I think we will be chasing one all-time high after another in the coming weeks. I don't think it will stop anytime soon. Don't have my crystal ball with me today, but my personal opinion is, and it will reach well into the new year, probably sometime after Trump, after Trump's inauguration. I don't think we will stop chasing new all-time highs until then.
Yeah, that's 100% true. So also on BitPro, well, actually the price of BitPro is 1.2 Bitcoin. So it's very interesting for the people that have BitPro on their wallets. So and also a very interesting thing is that Boltz allows you to swap between Bitcoin rootstock to Bitcoin Lightning and Bitcoin Liquid. That's why Killian is here. So we're gonna talk about that. Starting with Killian, the first question is, what is Boltz? There's people that hear the name of Boltz. That sounds very interesting. What is Boltz?
Yeah, good question. So Boltz really is, in very simple terms, it is a bridge between Bitcoin layers. And we put one word in there to make it a bit more special because there are a lot of bridges out there, especially, in the Ethereum world. It's a non-custodial bridge, meaning you can use Boltz to move your Bitcoin in between different layers without giving up custody. So not for a second, not for a split second, even you are losing control of your Bitcoin when you're moving them from, let's say, for example, from Lightning to Rootstock and essentially converting them from Lightning Bitcoin to rBTC. So that's what makes Boltz special. So the focus really here is on Bitcoin layers. So we keep the same asset. So you cannot change from Bitcoin to something else. It's always from Bitcoin to Bitcoin, and that's why we call it a bridge between Bitcoin layers.
Okay, that's very interesting. And also, I think that maybe a lot of people listen from Boltz. And also, I want to ask as a personal question. What does mean an atomic swap? Because atomic sounds very interesting. A swap. What does this mean, an atomic swap?
Yeah. So the fact that I highlighted just now, that you're not losing your custody, how that is enabled by what it is enabled is actually by atomic swaps. So the technology underpinning the non-custodial property of Boltz are atomic swaps. And how it works on a basic level is that for every Bitcoin, let's say you move Bitcoin from the Lightning Network to Rootstock, it always involves two transactions, right? So one, for example, goes from the user to Boltz on Lightning, and then Boltz sends back from Boltz to the user on Rootstock. And the basic underlying principle of an atomic swap is that these two transactions are cryptographically tied to each other, meaning that one transaction cannot execute without the other transaction executing as well. So on the flip side, that means if one transaction fails, the other one fails as well. So it's really like a one or a zero, and this is where this atomic stems from. So either both go through or none of them goes through.
Okay, that's very interesting. So it's 100% more safe than some bridges or swap things that you can find on internet that you just connect your wallet and just wait, and sometimes it didn't work and you lose your money.
Yeah,
So
you basically send in and you trust that you get something back, hopefully.
yeah. So well, other interesting thing that I want to know is when it started Boltz, because I'm in Bitcoin since 2023, and I used Boltz a lot of time, but I don't know when was created Boltz.
Yeah, so actually, Boltz then was created before you entered Bitcoin. So Boltz has an interesting history in terms of it. It started off really as a side project back in 2019. So basically, with the inception of the Lightning Network, we started Boltz as a side project of another former Lightning project that I was heading back then. And it turns out that Boltz became the main project over the years. So in 2023, indeed, was the time where we actually took Boltz and made it a company, made it a professional project. Whereas before, between 2019 and 2023, it was more like a hobby project. Yeah, it was something we were running on the side that we were maintaining, but there was no major feature releases because we just simply didn't dedicate, a decent amount of time on it. Since 2023, we started with 3 full-time guys behind Boltz. Now we are 4 actually, and so now it's a serious venture. It's a company. We have a legal entity and with all that serious stuff.
Okay, sounds very interesting. Also, I want to know. Well, I mean, before Rostock, you had Lightning and Liquid always. Well, I think maybe first Lightning, then Liquid. I want to know why you guys started thinking on including Rostock as a way to swap. I mean, which
It
was the
was a
basic idea to
Yeah,
start doing that?
it was
Why
a
Rostock?
no-brainer. It was a no-brainer really for us. It took us quite some while to do it because the technical implementation was challenging. But we started off between 2019 and 23. There was Bitcoin and Lightning only. You could only move in between the Bitcoin main chain and the Lightning network. In 2023, then we added Liquid, so you could move in between Liquid, Lightning, and the main chain. And now in 2024, we added Rootstock. And the narrative and the idea is basically Lightning, Liquid, and Rootstock all started at the same time. Sometimes we even call them internally like the OG layers of Bitcoin, or OG sidechains in the case of Rootstock and Liquid of Bitcoin, because they're operating since quite a couple of years without any major hiccups. Rootstock developed quite a decent, nice, smaller, but a nice ecosystem of projects being built on top. It has a nice user base. So for us, it was really a no-brainer to support Rootstock because it fulfills or it matches and ticks all the boxes that we want to have ticked for a layer to integrate. So it's operating since a long time. It's stable, secure, no major hiccups. It's Bitcoin. So that's one of the one of the parts of the evaluation framework that we have is any layer that we integrate has to have the Bitcoin that exists on this layer have to have a one-to-one relationship with the Bitcoin on the main chain. That's also the case for Rootstock, the same way it is for Liquid and Lightning. And importantly, the gas fees on Rootstock are also being paid in rBTC and not some alternative token. So for us, it was really okay. It ticks all the boxes. Technically, the technology was challenging because it was the first account-based, EVM-based system that we integrated. Before it was all UTXOs and Lightning, so we knew that very, very well. So it took a bit to get accustomed to that, but in the end, it worked out really well, and I'm really happy with the UX that we managed to deliver so far, and it will be getting better.
That's nice. So, well, also, I think that is very interesting is that the fees are very cheap. I want to know how you guys get that. So, because if you use maybe Symbiosis or other bridges that you can find on Rostock, the fees are very high, and you guys, I'm looking at that right now, is like 464 sats. The fees. How you guys get those cheap fees?
Okay, so the fees are twofold. So that's very important to understand. Whenever you're using Boltz, you always have two sort of fees, and it's on the web app. It's clearly distinguished in these two. One is the Boltz fee. That's basically our service fee, the fee that you pay to us for providing the service, running servers, providing the liquidity out of that. And then there's the network fee. That is the fee that you're paying in order to do the transactions, to be included on the blockchain or to be routed through the Lightning Network or stuff like that. So what you see that probably says 400 something sats right now is actually the network fee. That should be the network fee part that is necessary in order to do 2 rootstock transactions, right? So when you're, let's take the example that we had before again. We're going from Lightning to rootstock. So what's happening under the hood in this atomic swap is user sends Lightning reaches us, and then we go and lock up rBTC, the corresponding rBTC amount on the rootstock sidechain. And once the lockup is done, the user goes and claims this rBTC out of this lockup address that we locked it into. So there are actually 2 transactions necessary on the rootstock sidechain, and that's what we charge for. That's what the user pays for in order to do the swap. And the Boltz fee itself, well, yeah, it's comparably cheap. I think it's quite competitive. That's how I would call it in comparison with other providers. It's not set in stone. But we basically just set it similar to how we have set a fee set on Liquid right now, because it's comparable. It is 0.25%, I think, going from Lightning to rootstock. It is 0.1% going from rootstock to Lightning, and also 0.1% to go from rootstock to the main chain or to Liquid, basically chain to chain. So yeah, that's quite competitive. But I would say it just boils down to efficient liquidity management, right? So if you know how to manage liquidity, to not run out of coins, to execute transactions in batch. So that's something we're working on as well, to make it cheaper even for us in the future, to be able to say batch a couple of users together instead of executing all one by one. All that helps us to be able to offer these cheap fees.
Okay, that's interesting. How the process to make an atomic swap works, and it sounds very technical, but it sounds very magic also. So
Under the hood, I think the experience for the end user is quite seamless. Yeah, so you go to a website, you say I want to go from Lightning to rootstock. You put in the amount, you connect your Rabi or your MetaMask wallet, and click, and that's it. But under the hood, yes, it's
yeah, it is very simple. So, well, I want to ask, maybe this was a great update. You guys adding rootstock as a way to make an atomic swap. I want to know, maybe if you guys in the next months will add another interesting update that maybe you want to tell us.
another layer or
Interesting.
another.
No, update. Maybe a new interface. Maybe a new way to swap.
So right now, what we are focusing on with regards to rootstock is making it more efficient. So the batching that I mentioned before, to be able to batch multiple of these transactions that are happening under the hood, to batch them together and make them cheaper. That's something we will push online fairly soon, because the code is more or less ready. My colleague Michael was working on it day and night for the past week. So that's something you won't really notice that much in the process. You will just notice that the network fee, the fee that you saw, the 400 something, will go down, which is great for the user, right? So it's just getting cheaper in the end, especially important for smaller transactions. And if you do a low value amount, then then the percentage of this 400 sats can be quite high. So we're working on that. So it's really efficiency gains under the hood. A lot of compatibility issues that we want to solve. There are a lot of different wallets in the rootstock ecosystem. Not all of them work perfectly yet. I mean, the main ones like MetaMask and Rabi and others certainly do. We have another new wallet that wants to natively integrate with us, or already is in the process to do so. So I'm very excited about this one, because this one is really a rootstock focused wallet. So it might be actually becoming the go-to wallet for rootstock in the future. So you don't have to mess around with, MetaMask custom networks anymore in the future. You just install a wallet and it's all rootstock. That's something I really hope will be playing out that way, and they're integrating with us directly, meaning Boltz will be baked in there, right? So you don't even have to leave the wallet in order to do it. You don't have to leave the app you're currently in. And that's something we are really focusing on in the next couple of months. We're also working with money on chain in the future. At least Manu told me that early next year we will be starting an integration with money on chain. So that's really our focus in the future, to be natively integrated directly in platforms, directly in wallets, so that you do not have to go to Boltz Exchange, the website, to do the swaps, but you can actually say in this wallet or in money on chain, say receive via Lightning. Yeah, and whatever, you're paying via Lightning and you get rBTC magically under the hood via Bolt Swap and you don't even notice it.
Yeah, that will be a great update for users, because I as a Rustic user, I need to go to Balls Exchange, then I need to take my phone and go inside Chrome. So yeah, that would be great. Hope we can figure out how to do that in the future. So well, I want to hear your thoughts about Rootstock, because maybe this was, maybe, I don't know, maybe this was new for you. So I want to know which are your thoughts on Rootstock.
I personally knew Rootstock since the beginning, more or less. It's quite special, I know, because I had the pleasure to meet Diego Guterres, still chairman, I think, of Rootstock Labs, and he was heading Rootstock Labs as the CEO for many years. So I knew him. I knew about what made Rootstock special, and I still love it until today. And that is the fact that it's being merged mined by Bitcoin miners. So that's something very special that no other Bitcoin layer has in common with. Well, Rootstock is just the only one. The great thing about that is that Rootstock managed to achieve to separate the guardians of rBTC, like the multi-sig that guards rBTC, from who actually secures the network, and that is the actual Bitcoin miners from the regular Bitcoin miners of the regular Bitcoin main chain. And I love it because it makes it one of the most secure and robust networks, in my opinion, because right now I think it's like 50% of hash power are behind Rootstock, securing Rootstock. Rootstock is more secure than any other altchain out there, so that's really powerful, and I love it today. I also appreciate a lot that Rootstock is brave and was brave, going the account model and EVM route, and saying, okay, we want to offer something crucially different. We want to offer Turing complete programmability, smart contracts. We want to offer compatibility with all the other EVM ecosystems, so you can easily port your stuff over. It's Solidity, it's every developer tools that everyone is used to. So I think that's really powerful. And while Rootstock is not super big just yet, I think right now it's being discovered and it's being recognized how powerful Rootstock actually is, because it's all what all the others offer, but on Bitcoin. And I think that's a really powerful premise.
Yeah, sounds really great. So well, also I would love to know, maybe if you hear the opinion or the thoughts of the Rooster community about this new way to swap. So yeah, maybe if you have any interesting thoughts from the Rooster community, maybe good opinions, maybe features that they want to add to Boltz.
Yeah. I think in general the community is pretty excited. So that's the main feedback we got when we said we will do it earlier this year, and when we finally launched, then past couple of weeks, first with Lightning only, and then also adding all the other Liquid and main chain. So we could see that people were genuinely excited, because it just made their life easier, right? And it just also is. I think it's good for Rootstock as an ecosystem, because it just makes it, it's better connected. It's just connected to all the other layers out there on Bitcoin, or the ones that that we mentioned before, that actually play a role, that are production ready, that are being used. Rootstock is now tightly and integrated with all of these, especially with the main chain. New features that users ask for a ton. So usually users try things out and either discover some issues, or say, oh, but I didn't like this, or can you do that better, or this one didn't work. For example, direct hardware wallet support. We never thought about it. It never occurred to us why we would have direct hardware wallet support in our web app. It's like, okay, if someone wants to use a hardware wallet, well, then they just connect it to their whatever wallet they're using. But that seems to be not the case, that most users don't want to do that, or don't do it, in fact, and want to have direct hardware wallet support. So we added it. And there's still things to be improved. So while it works mostly, it doesn't work perfectly yet. And we started with Trezor and Ledger devices only. That's something we will definitely build out. And something, by the way, is very special about Rootstock. We didn't have that in any other layer that we integrated so far, because in any other layer, I think most people use software wallets, not hardware wallets. Plus, if they use a hardware wallet, we would know. They just copy paste addresses. But that's not easily possible for Rootstock. For Rootstock, you need to have it connected right there in the browser. So that's why we put a lot of work into supporting hardware wallets as well. And I think the most sought after feature is a native integration in a wallet, and we're working on that. So that basically users have this one wallet where they have their rBTC, and where they can go in with Lightning, where they can go out with on-chain, where they can go in with Liquid and withdraw with Lightning, pay with Lightning at a store. I think you know the acceptance of merchants. If they
Yeah.
accept Bitcoin, then usually it's Lightning. So that's something I think that will make rBTC really, really powerful. And something that I personally discovered more and more is the stablecoin ecosystem on Rootstock, Dollar on Chain, of course, but also others that I think will be more and more important in the future. And I think for us as Boltz, Rootstock is the place to deal with stablecoins.
Okay, and sounds very interesting. I want to know a little bit about the Bolt's future vision, and I want to know if you guys think in the future that you use will be allowing people to swap just between Bitcoin on chain, the layer one, to other layer twos, or maybe in the future you guys will be allowing to swap maybe from other tokens that maybe are, for example, into Rootstock to main chain to Lightning, or maybe other type of crypto to Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's a good question. We get that a lot. Especially, for example, with regards to stablecoins, we are being constantly asked, "Hey, I want to move from Bitcoin into USDT or the dollar on chain." It's a fair use case because people are using it to freeze the price, move out of Bitcoin, and move back in again, or even spend it. I'm pretty sure we will not integrate any other crypto that is not Bitcoin. Yeah, so it's Bitcoin only, and we're a Bitcoin company, and we are a bridge between Bitcoin layers. So that is pretty much. I'm pretty sure that this is more or less set in stone. I mean, never say never, but that's the current vision. Nevertheless, we see the demand with stablecoins. And as I just hinted on in a couple of sentences ago, Rootstock might be just the place where we can allow users to actually move into stablecoins. For example, we could, Boltz will be the place where you go from the main chain Bitcoin to rBTC. Then automatically in the background, what we can do is basically trigger either a dollar on chain mint and then have dollar on chain. So basically you have two hops. With two steps, you're getting into dollar on chain, or even via some AMM, Sushi Uniswap, some sovereign AMM pool, where you can actually move into a stablecoin by swapping in an AMM pool. So this will not be facilitated by Boltz at all directly. It basically Boltz just takes over Bitcoin to rBTC, or Lightning to rBTC, or Liquid to rBTC, and then rBTC to whatever dollar stablecoin will be facilitated by an AMM or by dollar on-chain mint. So that's something I can envision, and that's something actually we are looking at. But other cryptos, it's a no.
Yeah, so you guys are 100% on Bitcoin.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we need. So That's very interesting. That's very important, because there are a lot of projects that allow crypto, and that's not a bad thing. But projects that only 100% into Bitcoin are rarely or strange to found. So it's very interesting that Boltz is 100% into Bitcoin. So also, you're talking about dollar on chain. I want to know your thoughts on dollar on chain. Have you used it? Have you tested?
Yeah, I mean, I used money on chain to so far to be frank, just to play around a little bit. So I can't say I'm an expert yet. I'm very familiar with the concept because it's the similar concept of a token backed stablecoin exists in other ecosystems as well. And what makes dollar on chain really special is that it's backed by rBTC, right? By Bitcoin backed Bitcoin representation, and that's what I like a lot about it, and I think that's what makes it powerful, and we should advertise it more, right? So I think dollar on chain should be a dominant stablecoin player in the future that is very different from all tethers and similar USDCs out there that somehow rely on money in the bank and treasure T-bills and all, also and so on and so forth. So I think it's a very, very powerful concept that should be known more widely, especially in the Bitcoin world. I think in the Bitcoin world, Bitcoiners in general, and that's where I come from, they're not very familiar with all these concepts, right? So they might not even know this exists, right? So they might not even know that a stable coin backed by Bitcoin even exists. For them, it's basically, oh, Tether, and have to trust they have the money somewhere in a bank account and there's some audit and that's it, which is good and works, but they don't even know that a Bitcoin-backed stablecoin exists. And then I think once they understand how bPro works and how that actually helps you. If you're bullish on Bitcoin, bPro is a no-brainer as well.
Yeah.
Responsibly, obviously, but I think it's two very powerful concepts that money on chain delivered there. It's all about making it known, making it accessible. So that's where we play a part, right? Making it easier to get to money on chain and try all that out, but then also to spread the word and educate how it works and what you can do with it.
Okay, that's very nice. Also, I want to make you a really crazy question. Would you guys will
Shoot.
it is very crazy. Would you guys accept to make swaps between bPro to Bitcoin, Rust, all other things? Will you think that will be possible?
Oh, now you're catching me off guard. So here's the thing. So there's actually it's like 1.2 Bitcoin, like I just said before. So with there's the thing with I mean, I personally could entertain the thought, but there's a technical issue with it. So atomic swaps between two chains, so between, let's say, Bitcoin main chain and the bPro, they suffer a technical problem if the price of the two assets differ, right? So if it's both Bitcoin and it's 1-to-1, there's no problem. There is no exchange rate fluctuation to be exploited. If it's different, and maybe I can explain it in simple terms, it's basically with an atomic swap. If you're an attacker, you can stall them. So you cannot just, happy flow, just swap and be done. You could just start the swap and then wait. And when you wait, the price of bPro will go up and down at least a little bit, right? And what you can do then is basically say, okay, the price developed in my favor, so I go through with the swap. But if the price developed against me, I cancel the swap. And the problem with atomic swaps is that this is either completely for free or almost for free. So there you have the issue that if you start adding assets that are not 1-to-1, you will have these kind of people attacking you and trading against you, so to speak. We had that in the past, where we offered Litecoin in the very beginning, right? So that was our big mistake back then, not knowing about this attack vector, and someone exploited it, and it took us actually a while to figure out what's happening. So I don't think we will be offering Bitcoin or Lightning or anything to bPro directly, but there might just be the same principle applies, that you can go from Bitcoin to rBTC and then use some sort of AMM pool to go then to BPRO, because they don't suffer that issue, right? So as soon as it's an AMM happening on the same chain, you don't have that issue of this exploitation of this attack that I just described. So I definitely can see that we enable and make it very easy to go these two steps, these two hops together.
Okay, but it sounds very very crazy. But yeah, I think you guys are very very good on that. So also I want to know, there's a lot of layer twos on Bitcoin. There's a lot of side chains and all that stuff. I want to know if you guys are looking into other ones, if you guys are 100% focused on Rostock, and then you will figure out if there are on any other layer two or side chains to explore and maybe add to Boltz.
Yeah, we're definitely always looking. So I have my personal list of, I guess some websites like Layer 2 Watch or bitcoinlayers.org. So these are the websites that list what's currently being worked on and which stages they're in, testnet, mainnet, or is it complete rubbish or something. So we're always looking at them. So we maintain our own internal little overview of what's happening in the Bitcoin layer space. But that being said, when we integrate a layer, we don't just integrate and move on. We never do that. We integrate and then usually go deep. So it's really vertical for us. So right now we just integrated Rootstock. We worked on it for the entire year, but we integrated it finally, and it's feature complete, you could think. But then we think there are just so many more optimizations to be done, like, for example, with the batching that I described before, with the wallet support, with the hardware wallet support, and even new use cases to be discovered, like maybe even something with stable coins where we could make it smooth. So we really focus on this first before we start adding the next layer, working on the next layer. But we have already a pretty clear idea what our next layer will be, and it's still in development, and we are actively working with them, helping them to design really basic primitives, and that is Arc. So Arc is an actual Bitcoin layer 2 that is currently being developed by a company called Arc Labs. So we are very close with them, work with them, and that will be our most likely the next layer that we're adding. But we know that this will be not today or tomorrow, but it will be the course of the next year. So we have all the time to focus on Rootstock for now, while we, getting things slowly start with them.
Okay, that sounds very interesting and very cool that you guys are focusing on Rootstock. Also, I don't know, maybe if you guys are working into some of the communities and projects that are into Rootstock, such as Rootstock Collective, to see how to improve the Rootstock. Well, all the structure that you need to swap to make atomic swaps on Rootstock.
So yeah, I know about the Rootstock Collective. I also have been active a little bit in the forum, describing what we're building there and giving feedback on others. So that's great. There's also some rewards involved in order to incentivize builders to do more and build things out, which is great. But for us, the most important piece missing to make it smoother is basically native integrations. What I said before, basically that people don't say, oh yeah, you cannot use Boltz and go to their website and get your rBTC. It's like, no, integrate it natively into your platform, integrate it into Tropicus, integrate it into money on chain. So I will not let Manu go until it's integrated. You can quote me on that. Integrated directly in software and whatever is there, right? So that's really our goal, and that's who we want to work with. And wallets the same way.
Okay, nice. So, well, I think you guys have a very interesting update on this. So I would love to know if you have anything else to 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 talk us about Boltz. Maybe if you, well, I think maybe a good question. which will be your advice for the people that is looking this, and they always make a large way to swap from Rootstock to BTC, making 3 or 4 steps on 3 or 4 different websites to be able to swap between a Rootstock to Bitcoin. So basically, which will be the advice for that people to join into Boltz Exchange and take a look on it.
I would love people to try it out and give feedback. We know things are not perfect yet. I mean, they work pretty well, but they're not perfect yet. So we are very, very interested in these details and these things that don't work for users. So I would like to encourage anyone watching this to actually try it out. Go to boltz.exchange and go with a small amount. So if you have Lightning, that's perfect. If you have a wallet like Phoenix or any other Lightning wallet, like Wallet of Satoshi, even try it out. Send a couple of Sats into rBTC, play around on money on chain, and let us know how it went, and especially where things didn't go smoothly. We get a lot of these detailed feedbacks, and I love it because that's exactly the phase where we're in right now to go deep and fix these UX issues or technical issues up. So that's basically my message, guys. Try it out and let us know, especially the not so beautiful parts, the things that don't work and they're not that satisfying. We'd love to know about it. You can get in touch with us either directly on Twitter, tweet about it. Our DMs are open. You can get in there. You can come on our Discord server or Telegram group. They're all linked on Boltz.exchange in the footer. It's all linked there. Or on the website, there's also a chat bubble. Click there, send me a message. It will be directly going to me, and I'd love to see some feedback.
So that's very nice. Well, I think an interesting question, as the companies around the world are looking into AI and they love to put AI into things. Do you guys, you think you will add AI to Boltz?
I think AI is an overhyped buzzword, unfortunately. I don't know. Our support bot could be an AI, but we chose to switch off the. It actually has this function, but we chose to switch it off, and instead you will be talking to me. So AI, I am not. I don't see any concrete use case that is customer facing, right? So of course we internally use AI for coding reviews, for heck, even for checking the grammar of my blog posts. Like there's definitely AI internally involved. And by the way, all local hosted, so we host our own AI, so we don't use any of the public stuff. But I don't think for Boltz as a product right now, I don't see a major use case for AI, to be honest now.
For sure. So yeah, I think it will be very strange that you are gonna swap Bitcoin and then there's an AI. Why would you need an AI?
Yeah,
So,
it will help you to do what? To decide where you want to go.
yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe what you but it's not an AI. There might be, let's say we integrate a stablecoin AMM, a swap in the future. Then you might have some sort of aggregator logic deciding which one is the cheapest for you or which one is the best for you. But I mean, I wouldn't call that AI. That's very basic things. Yeah.
Yes. Do you think maybe Bitcoin will be the last industry that not gonna have a lot of AI into it?
Surrounding, but in it, I hope never. I'm scared of AI getting into the core primitives of our future, and Bitcoin is the money of the future, and I don't want to see any AI being involved at the heart of it all, which is Bitcoin. In it's around, like I just described. If you're coding, it supports you fine. It helps you to form a sentence, rephrase things, and make sure you don't have any grammar mistakes. That's fine. AI is useful for that, but I wouldn't want to see it involved in anything directly in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think we need to think a lot of on it. So currently, which atomic swap you think will be most used from Rootstock? I mean, you think it's more used Rootstock to Lightning than maybe Rootstock to Liquid?
Right now, so far, Lightning to Rootstock is leading. Actually pulled quickly the volume and the stats before we did jump onto this call. But that's simply due to the fact because we launched it first, right? Since we launched Liquid and the main chain to Rootstock as well, there's actually a lot of people using the main chain swap as well. So it seems like there's a need for people to easily go that just with plain main chain Bitcoin to rootstock and vice versa. And with regards to Liquid, right now it's not taking off yet, but it might be in future, right? So Liquid itself is growing rapidly and being discovered right now, and I can I can totally see that the main volume of swaps in the future will be in between the layers instead of with the main chain. I can totally see that.
Okay, nice. So also, I think that I want to ask you is about the refund because I never used that. I want to know what is the refund thing on the website. If you guys go into Boltz that exchange, there is a site that says refund. I want to know how that works.
Um, So there is a very special thing about you doing atomic swaps via a website, right? So a website has very limited ways how it can store things. So in an atomic swap, imagine there is this one secret, this one password, however you may want to call it, that you need in order to unlock coins from an atomic swap. So if something goes wrong with it, if everything works and the swap goes through, nothing happens. But if something goes wrong and the second transaction can't be done for whatever reason, you have to get back the transactions from the first transaction that you did. You know, you have to, because they're locked either on Rootstock or on the Bitcoin main chain or on Liquid, you have to get them back. And this getting back requires this little secret. So we store this little secret in a special place, in a special database inside the browser. But we have a lot of users who manage to lose the history of their browser, to use Tor browser. When they close it, the history is automatically wiped, or to use an incognito window. When they close it, the history is automatically wiped. So they lose this little secret. And if the swap failed, they cannot get their coins back and they essentially lost money. And we urgently have to avoid that. So what we came up with is the concept of a refund file. So basically, if not all directions of all swaps need that, but the ones that do, they would actually prompt you in the swap flow, basically saying how much from where to where. You click next, and that would tell you, please download this refund file if you're on Tor browser, if you're in incognito mode, otherwise you might lose your money. And most people actually download them, this refund file, have it somewhere in their download folder. On the phone, it's a QR code that gets saved to your gallery. And they have this QR code in there which contains the secret so they can get their money back in case something goes wrong. That being said, that only exists for the website. If you have a native integration, for example, in a mobile app, in a wallet, you don't have any external downloads because the data is safely stored within the mobile app. And then actually refunds work automatically. I can give you an example. It's not on Rootstock, but it's on Liquid. So there's a wallet called Agua, which allows you to do Lightning payments with Liquid to Lightning swaps and vice versa. And they store the secret in the app. And actually, if the Lightning payment fails and this refund is needed, they automatically do it for you. They just take the secret, automatically get the money back. So basically say, oh, Lightning payment failed, which can happen. Too bad. You click the back button and you already see your money is already coming back. So that's basically the UX that we are striving for, is to have refunds being handled automatically by platforms natively and that don't depend on the refund file of our website.
Okay, that's very interesting. Also, I want to ask something. As a developer, I want to know about the testnet side of the
Yeah.
website. How that works? Is it really for testnet? I'm
Yeah.
maybe all the testnets of the four um Bitcoin type supported.
You're asking which kind of testnets are supported, or what's the
Yeah, I
question?
mean, there are. I'm looking at it right now, and there's Bitcoin, Liquid, Ruston, and Lightning. So I think
All testnets, yes.
four of them is in testnet. So how this works also?
It's the same thing, just on testnet, right? So you instead of using Major Bitcoin, you send testnet 3 Bitcoin in very near future testnet 4. So I don't know if you know about it, but the testnet on Bitcoin is currently being switched out for a new one. It's the official rootstock testnet. It's the official liquid testnet. There's only one, so you can use testnet coins which don't have value to try things out. It's very useful for a developer, like I said, because once you have your integration going, you want to be testing with testnet coins in case you screwed something up that you don't lose money. Yeah.
Okay, that's very
API is
interesting.
the same. Everything is one-to-one the same than with the main chain. Just that it's testnet coins. Also, of course, it's different Lightning nodes. It's Lightning nodes on testnet, instead of on the main chain. So yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. I'll take a look on it because it is very interesting. I didn't know that you guys had a testnet, and
Even
I'm
more,
sometimes
we even have a rec test environment that you can get up and running. So you have actually all the coins locally in your machine. So it's a local blockchain you're running. You can mine coins. Like we have a very, very fleshed out developer ecosystem, to
that's
make it
very
as easy as
interesting.
possible.
Very
To make it
interesting.
as easy as possible. Yes.
I think I'll need to take a look on it because I'm a little bit starting with development things. So, well, Kian, thank you so much for staying here talking with me about Boltz, about Bitcoin. We talked about a lot of things. So, thank you so much for staying here.
A pleasure. A pleasure. Hope to see you on our Discord channel and talk about development.
For sure. Well, thank you guys that are saying this. Please stay tuned the next week. Next week we will have Asami.club. Will be very interesting having them guys. Basically, you can monetize your X account with Asami. So please stay tuned and thanks, Killian, again.
Thank you.